Hello there, Brainwash Those. This is Joshua the Heretic coming at you today. Hi, how you doing? Today, there's been an incident. Well, not an incident. I would say like just a discussion I had with one of my friends on Facebook. Yes, I'm on Facebook. He's been reading the scriptures a lot, and that's cool. I think that's a good thing to read the scriptures often. But I realized that, and I've taught this before, and I have a video on it. But there's something that a lot of people that study scripture a lot misunderstand or don't really understand about it. There is this one verse that says that the hypocrites, that the Pharisees are ever learning but never coming to a knowledge of the truth. Okay, what this means is that they are always studying scripture and they never. Nothing ever comes of it. They never gain any understanding. And I think I've shared this with you about a friend of mine that just constantly will not hear the truth. And he studies every day. So it's like, so I'm coming here to you today to tell you how to study because, well, first off, the first time I did this, it was on a really crappy camera. And now I have this really nice one. So we're going to go into it, okay? What this boils down to is that people, when they study scripture, what they do is they open up their Bibles every day at a certain time in the day, and they flip it open to whatever page fits or fancy, or maybe they go from the beginning to end, or they start in Gospels, or blah, blah, blah. They just pick something at random, and then they read it. And then when they read it, they're like hopeful that God will give them some sort of, understanding. And then they read it, and they pray about it, and they're like, oh, God, help me, help me, help me. And then at the end, they're like, well, they may have learned something about that book, but they really didn't come to any kind of understanding. Why is that? Well, it goes back to the Gospels. In the Gospels, it says that seeking you shall find, knock and it shall be open, ask and it shall be given unto you. Okay, ask and it shall be given unto you. If we're going to study Scripture, we need to find something to study on, okay? Instead of reading the Bible and then asking God for understanding, why don't we instead ask God for what we need to study? What you need to do is you need to go like this. You need to say, okay, God, here's my Bible. I want to study your word. Help me to gain understanding. Give me something that I need to learn. Okay, and that's the heart you need to have. You need to come to God and say, hey, God, I want to learn something. Give me something that I don't understand. Help me to come up with a question that'll help me understand your word better. What don't I understand? Don't just read scripture. Don't just read scripture. Ask God, help me. Give me something that I don't understand. And then when God gives you the question that you're supposed to learn, gives you the question in your heart, then you can ask that question to the word. You can get a concordance like a Strong's or Young's, it doesn't even matter, man. Just get a concordance. And you do a word search and you find it and you look it up and you study it. And then because you have that question in your heart, you're hungry for it. You want it. And if you don't have a question, you don't care. You don't care. If you are not seeking for knowledge, you won't care about the information that you get. There will be no understanding. If you remember this, the Bible is not a novel, it's a textbook. Okay? If you don't come in there asking questions, if you don't come in there seeking truth, you're not going to get anything out of it. If you expect to read it like a novel and just to read it, you read it just to read it, you're not going to get anything out of it. You shouldn't even open the book unless you have something you're looking for. I'm serious. Don't open the book unless you're looking for something in particular. I have never read the book like everybody else reads the book. I always say, okay, I'm only going to come to the word if I have a question. And the thing is, I have a lot of questions because I constantly am throwing down with people, okay? The source of my questions comes from the fact that I'm constantly getting in the mix. I'm arguing with people. I'm finding out what they know. They throw scriptures at me. And like most of the time, like when I first started, I was getting my butt whooped constantly because these people knew scripture way better than me. But I had never just read it to read it. I never just read it to read it. I read it to understand it. And so when I came out, I knew I had a precept, and I'd go out there and I'd throw it in somebody's face and they come out and kick me in the teeth, I'd be like, okay, I need to know this better. and then I'd study it, and either I was wrong and I'd fix it, or I was right and I knew how to defend it. So I'm going to tell you something. Just focus on the questions, man. Just focus on the knowledge. Don't focus on just reading it. Reading it for reading its sake is irrelevant. Man, that's religion. That's religious. That's just, you're reading it to be seen by men. If you wake up every day and read it at 5 o'clock and you read it for freaking half an hour, that's religious. That's to be seen by men. You should be reading it if you have something you want to learn. Okay? If you don't have a question when you're coming to the Word, you need to pray. I'm serious. You need to pray. You need to get a question in your head before you even open that book. There has to be something in your heart burning to know about Scripture. And you know what? If you don't have that question, it is better that you dwell on the Scripture you already know than to just open the book, because then you're turning off your brain. If you're reading the book just to read it, you just turn off your brain. So what I would recommend you do is don't even open the book unless you have a question. It's better to dwell on God than to just read a book without thinking. Okay? I'm serious. Ever learning but never coming to the knowledge of the truth is what we need to avoid like the plague. Study to show thyself approved, not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth, but you have to ask, and it shall be answered unto you. Ask, seek, find, knock. If you don't actively participate in the knowledge gaining, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to actively participate. God's just not going to give it to you. You have to ask for it. Okay, if you read the Bible without having forethought or foreknowledge of what you are looking for, you're not going to find anything. How are you going to find something if you're not looking for it? It's like you walk into a room, and your wife is like, "What are you looking for?" "I don't know. I'm just looking for something." That's dumb. You're going to get in your car and drive somewhere? No, you have a destination in mind. You're gonna walk around your house looking for something and you have no clue what you're looking for. You're gonna go to the grocery store to buy something, but you don't know what you're supposed to buy? Come on, don't read the Bible unless you know what you're looking for. These are not hard concepts, but the thing is, every Christian I have found, well, not every Christian, but the vast majority of Christians out there, they are constantly just reading the book, having no direction. They have no direction. I'm reading Timothy because I'm supposed to read Timothy today. No. You read Timothy because you want to learn about women's authority. You want to learn about modesty. Okay? I read Corinthians today. No, you read Corinthians today because you want to learn about spiritual gifts or agape or how to apply spiritual gifts, and what happens if I speak in tongues too much or don't interpret the tongue or blah, blah. These are the reasons you should be reading these scriptures, not because, this is what my daily Bible says I'm supposed to read, like an automaton. No. You read it because you want answers. And if you don't have a question, don't read it. I'm serious, man. You should not be reading Scripture unless you have a question, because if you're reading Scripture without a question, you're just doing it to be seen by men. You're doing it to try and look more righteous than the next guy. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. So anyway, I'm done. I'm ranting. I want to let you go. And I hope this offends a whole bunch of you, because I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of it. I'm the Heretic. Signing out. Peace. Whoozah! Don't step in the puddles.